Well,
Yeah.
we are,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. We are IFMSA EB 2018, 2019, and we're having our submissions webinar for August meeting, which is going to happen in few weeks, in 2 weeks in Taiwan, in Taipei. We're very excited to have you with us in 2 weeks. So hopefully the ones who are watching us are going to be with us during the GA, and those who are not with us, it's also important to know what is happening in our federation. The aim of this webinar is to share with you some updates regarding the submissions we are going to have in August meeting and how you can prepare for them. But before that, let's just say hi everyone so you can know who is with us in the webinar. So we have Jose, our VPPRC, and then, yeah, hi Jose. And then we have Nibosha, our VPA. We have Fabrizio, our VPM. We have Georg, our VPCB, and we have Ahmed, our VPF. And unfortunately, our VP is not able to join us because he's saving lives. He's stuck in a shift somewhere in Slovakia. Prepare for the GA. You still have 2 weeks to go, and I hope that you already reviewed the submissions that we shared with you, and you have an idea about the discussions that are going to take place during the GA. But this webinar aims to explain where you can find everything, what are the most important things that you need to know about, what are the processes related to them, and how we are going to discuss them in the GA. So to give you a bit of an overview for what we are going to do in 7 days in Taiwan by the beginning of August. So we can start. Georg, can you go to the agenda of the webinar? So, yeah. Okay, so Georg, can you move the slide?
Yes, in a second.
Okay. So as you can see, these are the topics that we're going to tackle today in our webinar. First, the president's session and the plenary, what will happen there, and then we are going to go over the plenary team and the CCC. We have announced them over the server, but it's good to have an overview about the team that is going to manage our plenary during the GA. We're going to go over tracking documents, which are some sort of documents that the EB has prepared, so you can have an easier overview of all the submissions together instead of the folder of the Google Drive. And then we're going to go over bylaw change proposals, the different clusters for them, so you can follow up on the proposals and know how to prepare for them. And then we're going to have an overview of the candidatures submitted for the GA, as well as the policy documents, MOUs and sponsorships, task force reports, and in the end, other reports. So these are the most important topics that we're going to tackle today. And we're going to start with the first one, with the president's session with our VPM Fabrizio.
Yeah, so for the president sessions, this is basically the space in the session for all the NMO presidents and representatives to attend and start discussing all the important matters that are going to be voted upon the plenary during every single day of the GA. So president sessions this time is also taking into consideration the inputs that we got from March meeting. This time we try to make open space for discussions, more open space for discussion slots, so NMOs can discuss more topics that are related or more interesting for them. And also, we implemented a session called Q&A sessions. So we combine all the usual presentations that we have on the submissions and all the matters that we submit for the discussions during the plenaries, and we combine them in a Q&A session that is going to be happening by the end of every day in president sessions. So this is going to be the new format that we're trying for this August meeting in Taiwan. So the way that these discussions and decisions are going to be taken, and we're going to make sure that not just presidents and representatives are involved, but also the general delegates and the NMOs itself. It's after NMO president sessions, we have the NMO hour where the presidents and representatives shared what is happening, and not just there, but also every single member attending the GA. And after that, we're going to go to the plenary. So we are trying to make sure that this is informed decision-making processes for the federation, and that the voting are representatives. Yeah. So president sessions is the space for you to raise concerns, to make questions, to input our work, and to give us feedback so we can improve it for the rest of the term, and also for our handover period for the next term. Then we also have the plenaries that have strict procedures, as the slide says, and it is all established in the bylaws. And we're going to talk a bit more about plenary team and submissions in the following slides. And then we also have motions, which are basically proposals that are going to be submitted by NMOs or team of official members, EB, task force, etc. There's like several people or bodies that can submit motions that are proposals to be voted upon the plenary. And then we also will have a speaker list, which is time for the NMOs and the representatives to express themselves regarding any topic that is being discussed.
Okay. Thank you, Fabrizio. And Nibosha, can you give us an overview about the plenary team and CCC?
Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me well because I'm outside and the connection is not really great. But we finally have a full plenary team with all members of the CCC selected. They're being led by Chairperson Salma, Vice Chairperson Jessica, Plenary Secretary Noor, 5 Assistant Secretaries, Ali Mohammed, Beatrice, Rajesh, and Mohammed. And then we have 5 CCC members, Mohammed, Yannick, Salim, Basil, Nasi, returning officers, Ajbeta and Joanna. And then we also have a voting support person who's the support person for Jose, and he's going to be all informed about the NEMO vote again, which we're going to be using after March meeting, now in August meeting as well. And after August meeting, we'll conclude if we're going to continue using it or not, because we're getting it second time for free. You can move the slide. So I was talking.
So, Nibosha, yeah, that's fine. Fabrizio and Jose are going to cover the tracking documents. So we'll go back to Fabrizio.
Yeah. So for the tracking documents, as for March meeting and as we used to do in IFMSA, I have created a NMO tracking document where we have organized all the submissions that we have for the federation and that are going to be discussed during this GA as well. For the tracking document, if you can pass the slide, we will have several tabs. We have a tab for bylaws and the clusters that is going to be explained by Nibosha as well. And then we will have also one for policies, membership application, as you can see. And then also one on candidatures and reports for the federation, or the commitments that IFMSA has. So just this is going to be this is going to be shared within a week after this webinar, and it's going to be able not just for NMO presidents and representatives, but also for general members that want to check the document. So it's a way to combine all the submissions here, and also to take into consideration on the membership application area. There were also 2 reports that were shared by me some days ago about the candidate members follow-up from the RDs, these reports, and also the BPM report on candidate members. So this is also something to take into consideration for these submissions.
Okay, thank you, Fabrizio. And now Jose for the voting.
So yeah, so I'm going to cover a bit about voting rights. So you have submitted your NMO report until the 1st of July. And now we are in the period that you have to submit your update to the IFMSA.org. This should be done after July 1st and before August 3rd. So 2 hours before the second plenary. Besides that, you also need to submit the documents about GDPR, namely the DPA, the Data Protection Addendum, and the SCC. So these have also been updated through the NMO report uploaded to IFMSA, and we will contact you if any of the documents need some resubmission in the next period, because it can also be submitted up until 2 hours before the second plenary. Besides that, we also have the debts that you have agreed with VPF. If you haven't if you don't have a payment plan, you should contact VPF for arranging one. And also, if you have agreed to pay upon arrival, you should pay to VPF up until the plenary, the same plenary we mentioned before.
Yeah. Okay. Ahmed, would you like to elaborate more about the debts part? You're muted.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
membership invoices have been shared, and the deadline for payment is the 15th of July. NMOs have to pay by the 15th of July, after which we will only be, after the deadline, we will only be accepting payment plans, which should be approved by the EB before the second plenary. Otherwise, the NMO will get suspended for the upcoming financial year. Also, if you're planning to pay in cash, kindly make sure to inform me before the deadline, which is the 15th of July, so that we can have all the paperwork prepared before the GA, and to make sure that the money is safe to be collected there, along with the help of the OC.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ahmed. And just as a reminder, tomorrow is the 15th of July. So if you did not already inform the VPF that you want to pay on arrival, you must do it before this deadline. Otherwise, it will be a problem, or we need to transfer to payment plans, as Ahmed. With Nibosha, if you can explain the clusters we are going to have during this GA.
Alright, so as we did in March meeting with Dominic, I also sat down with Salma and we reviewed all bylaw change proposals, and so to what area they're related to, and we combined them again in clusters. So as you can see, when I shared the submission, when the submissions were shared, I also shared a combined bylaw change proposal document, which includes on the first page exactly the next 3 slides you're going to see that explain all the clusters and who the proposers are, so you can have an easier time reviewing them. Also, and only in this document, I edited the first page for each of the bylaw change proposals, where it's going to say bylaw change proposal number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So that you can find them easily if you go through that document when they are being discussed. Of course, the bylaw change proposal discussions at the GA are handled by the chairperson and vice chairperson, and they have the freedom to maybe discuss clusters differently and not in this order, but they're going to be discussed specifically as clusters as they were in March meeting.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Nibosha, for the explanation. So if you have any questions regarding the bylaws, please approach the EB or approach vpa@ifmsa.org. Also, we highly encourage you to start the discussions prior the GA, so it wouldn't take a lot of time during the GA to do this discussion. So if you have any particular discussion in mind, open a thread for it, and we would love to support such discussions happening online before the GA to minimize the time spent during the GA to discuss these proposals. We're going now to move for the candidatures.
Wait, can I add something?
Yeah, definitely. Go on, Nibosha.
So unlike March meeting, in August meeting, we also have constitution changes that are being submitted, and only in August meetings. And this time we had 7 to 9 constitution changes. While I was in Denmark, I also met with a lawyer who reviewed all our submissions, and you're going to be receiving an email regarding all of those. But all constitution changes proposals were reviewed, and they're fine to be voted on, and you'll have more explanations in an email that's coming. That's it, thank you.
Okay, great. So now we can move to the candidatures part, and with Ahmed. Ahmed, do you hear us?
I'm just unmuting, sorry. Okay, so for the candidatures part, first of all, we have for the August meeting host, we have received only 1 application from FGMSA Ghana. And then for the IFMSA EB 2019-2020 candidates, like, first of all, just apologies for the name, for my pronunciation of the names. I tried to practice, but I'm very sorry. For the position of the Vice President for Finance, we have Gabriela Flores. For the position of Vice President for Members, we have Puchin Lee, Paulina Birolla, and Milike Eldenich. For the Vice President for Capacity Building, we have Haider Nouri, Katarina Rodriguez, and Anthony Nimmer. Finally, for the IFMSA EB 2018-2019, for the VPRC position, no applications were received. For the IFMSA officials, 2019-2020, for RD Africa, we have Alastair Mokondiwa and we have Stefan Dejani. For RD Americas, we have Javier Asfura, we have Frank Rodriguez, Maria Jose, and Rodrigo Sanchez. For RD Asia Pacific, we have Shongju Hung. For RD EMR, we have Amr Hammani and Basil Badwan. For RD Europe, we have Gita Mihalic. For the standing committee directors, fourth committee director, we have Marwan Anzil. First copy director, we have Mohammed Abutiab and Gabriela Macedo. For SCOF director, we have Sara Matteo and Mayato, and Blanca Panello. For SCORA director, we have Laura Valdez and Stefani McKelvey. For SCORA director, we have Matthew Pierre, and for SCORP director, we have Guillermo Valdez, Mahmoud Al-Hamoudi, and Kenzi Ahmed. For the liaison officers, for the LME, we have Mandugas Galvozas and Alaa Dafallah. For LPH, we have Omnia Al-Omrani. For LRA, we have Egle Yanusonite. For LRP, we have Maha Rahman and Tami Yu. For LOZO, we have Saad Waqqas and Sayin Al-Khouri. Finally, for LWHO, we have Katia Chich. For the supervising council positions for 2007, for the subco position for 2017-2019, none were received. 2018-2020, also no applications were received. For supervising council positions for 2019 and 2021, we have 3 candidates: Yan Chinik, Egmen Chakar, and Firas Yassin. Concerning the candidatures, all TO and EB candidates will be presenting on the second plenary, which takes place on the 3rd day, and the elections will be taking place on the 4th plenary, which takes place on the 5th day. EB candidates will be having 5 minutes for presentation and 3 minutes for questions. TO and subco candidates will be having 3 minutes for presentation and 2 minutes for questions. For August meeting 2020 host, they will be having 15 minutes for presentations and 5 minutes for questions. There will be an EB debate on the 4th day, and also there will be other debates for other officials. So make sure to keep an eye on the regional sessions and standing committee sessions agendas to know when the debate of the relevant officials is taking place. We encourage all NMOs to read the candidatures and to ask questions in advance, and to reach out to any candidate they want to ask any questions. It's very important to choose wisely the next leadership of the federation. For the regional directors, only the relevant region will be voting on that. For the August meeting host, presentation will be in the plenary. 15 minutes for presentation, 5 minutes for questions. There will also be questions in the president's session. Finally, for the membership NMO's change of status, the presentation will be taking place in the plenary, and then the membership application review report will be presented in the president's session, and the RD's membership follow-up report will also be presented in the president's session. So keep an eye on the president's session's agendas. Thank you. Oh, yeah, and also we will also be having again a NEMO vote in the August meeting. So make sure that you have your device charged to your device charged to be able to vote in all plenaries.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmed. That's a lot of names, and I think it's hard already to remember all of these names. But I guess you have access to the candidatures, and I need to emphasize a lot that we highly remind you to approach those candidates in advance and to ask them your questions. It's much better if they would get the chance to think about your questions and to answer you through email. You still have the opportunity to do that, of course, during the GA, but we highly advise that you would try to get in contact with these candidates and ask them about their candidatures. And most importantly, that you would be able to make an informed decision during the GA based on actual analysis of their candidature, of their presentation during the GA, and of what they promise you as the new leadership and officials of this federation. So now we can move to the policy documents. And as I said earlier, unfortunately, Michael is saving lives right now. But we have several proposals for the policy documents for this GA. We have almost 14 14 proposals, 10 by the team of officials, and 4 proposed by NMOs. You have access to them, and they have been already shared with you since the 10th of June. You had the chance to input most of them until the 24th of June, and they have been submitted by the 1st of July. Can you move the slide? One slide. So during the GA, so during the upcoming period, actually, there's going to be a lot of processes related to the policies, and it's important to focus on them. So we would avoid last minute changes during the plenary. As we always say during the plenaries, we always do the statement, please do not make last minute changes. Try to amend and check the policies in advance. You have a lot of time. It gives us a lot of time and space to discuss these amendments and to think through them thoroughly instead of just voting on them in the plenary with last minute changes. So what is going to happen today is the 14th of July. By the 17th of July, that's the internal deadline for the amendments for the TO policies. And then they will be incorporated and shared on the 19th on the server. So this is as well a reminder for the NMOs who submitted policies, not the ones who submitted by the team of officials, but rather by NMOs, that if you received amendments, please make sure to share your policy document on the server by the 19th, otherwise, and to submit it again as well. Otherwise, there would be, like we had the situation before in which some NMOs forgot to reshare it or submit it by the 19th. So please do both. Share it on the servers, resubmit it as well, just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to have the policy reviewing committee report NMOs. So there's already a call for a policy reviewing committee that is being formed, and they are discussing the policies, all the policies that are being submitted, to form their recommendations regarding that. It will be shared with you one day before the GA itself, so you can review it, and then it might help you during the voting on these policies, and to have an overview of our opinion on these policies, whether they are beneficial for our federation, they are in the areas we are working on, or they need more developments. According to the bylaws, the policies must be presented during the first day of the GA, so that's going to happen during the president session. We're going to present the policies. However, there is a new change that we have incorporated into the agenda of August meeting this year. We're not going to have policy discussion sessions during the GA. Because this is not something that is requested from us by the bylaws, and we always feel that these policy discussion sessions, they either generate last minute changes that we do not think about it thoroughly to add to a policy document that we have been developing for months. At the same time, we do not think that the level of the discussion is equal. Sometimes we have new members, sometimes we have old, and so on. So this time, the external presentation team and the VPE came with an idea, which is having external presentation workshops during the GA instead, which will also cover some part of the policies as well. I mean, the skills related to that, and we will give you more updates on that during the upcoming webinar next week in the updates webinar. And as a final remark, you can still do amendments during the plenary before the adoption of the policies, but we highly encourage you to avoid last-minute changes and to try as much as possible to share your ideas and your critique to the policies right now during this period. So we can move now, Jose.
Yes, so since Michael is also saving lives, still saving lives, I'm going to present the MOUs and right after the sponsorships. So the 3 MOUs that we have for August meeting is the 3 that you can see in the screen. The first one with Incision, the International Student Surgical Network. The second one with the International Society for Infectious Diseases, ICID. Both from LOSO, and the third one from LME and RDEMR with AMI EMR, so the Association for Medical Education in the Eastern Mediterranean. If you have any questions, you can still ask like the relevant officials or to the VPE, so you can send an email to vpe@ifmsa.org or to lozo@ifmsa.org or lme@ifmsa.org. And then for sponsorship, we have several. We have 2 from the pre-WHA and WHA that should be ratified by the General Assembly. So the first one with UNAIDS, the second one with the Alliance for Health Policy and Systems Research, hosted at the WHO. These two from the pre-WHA and WHA. Then we have two others, one with the Partnership for Maternal, Newborn and Child Health, this from the LRA. And the last one with Edu Opinions, which is a company who tries to rank universities. So we are trying to replace, we are trying to assess the feasibility of having Edu Opinions instead of study portals, which is the current one that we have in Exchange database. So Edu Opinions offers more advantages. So we will be looking forward to discuss this with NMOs and ratify it during the General Assembly. Thank you.
And now we move to the task forces reports, and we are having 4 task forces for the upcoming GA. We have the task force on United Nations, task force on live streaming and online voting, task force on barriers to representativity, and task force on involvement, integration, and impact of non-medical students within the IFMSA structure. So these task forces have been formed. The first 3 of them from the beginning of the year, and the last one was formed during March meeting 2019. They have submitted their reports. You can check them. They are uploaded into the submissions folder, and they will be added as well to the tracking sheet. Please read their reports. They will have an opportunity during the president session to discuss with you any input you have on their reports or their work. So they will be present in a specific time during the president session, and you can ask them whatever you want. We're not going to go over the report of each of the task forces, because simply in the report itself there's a summary of what is reported there, so you can have an idea about what is happening there. And if you have any questions, make sure to approach the coordinators. Each task force has a coordinator, it's mentioned there. If you want to approach as well the EB representative, we can also help you with this. For the first task force, it's the VPE, the United Nations, it's the VPE. The live streaming and online voting is it's Jose, the VPPRC. For barriers to representativity, it's the VPM, Fabrizio. And for the last one, about the involvement, integration, and impact of non-medical students, it's me. So please approach us if you have any questions. We can move now. Next slide.
Okay, so lastly, we also do have some further reports for you to go through. First of all is official reports. So therefore, all IFMSA officials write a report about all their term, about their achievements, about their struggles, everything they have done during this year. Also for this, it's very important, or it would be very good if you have the chance to go through them before the GA, because all the officials are more than happy to also answer questions if there are any for the reports, because similar to the policy papers, as we have spoken before, it's better if officials also have the time to answer your questions, and during the GA it's usually quite busy, so it's the easiest to do that before, but of course you can also still do it during the GA. After that, we do have the report on grammatical and renumbering changes to the constitution and bylaws. So sometimes they're just like smaller and minor things that need to be changed that do not need any voting in the GA, but this report is going to be shared by Nebosha, by the VPE, until next week, also until the updates webinar, for you to go through, just so you know what have been done. We also have the supervising council report. So again, they write down what they have done, what the individuals in the supervising council have done, but also which topics they have looked into, and everything they did in the past year. This will be uploaded until the 19th of July. It's not there yet. We do theoretically have some financial reports, but there have none been submitted. So we do miss some of the financial reports, but this is also something that probably Taha will be able during the GA to explain more, or also we will go through the different financial reports that are missing and that we still need to approve as General Assembly. And lastly, we do have the 2019-2020 budget proposal, which has been submitted until the 1st of July, and which will be go through in the present session, but also in the plenary to be adopted. And we do have the Global Priorities Annual Report from 2018-19, which is basically an update for you to go through. There's nothing to be voted upon. It's just for you to check and also have to ask questions if there are any. And of course, we do have the global priorities proposals for 2019 and 2020, which are the new global priorities for next year, which will be voted upon in the GA. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Georg. Ahmed, would you like to elaborate more about the financial reports that were mentioned by Georg?
Okay, so for the financial reports, we were expecting August meeting 2018 in Quebec and August meeting 2017 in Tanzania, but unfortunately both reports weren't submitted. Also, we were expecting to have our accounting firm to finish the report for 16-17 on time by the deadline, but unfortunately also this wasn't done on time. Yeah, and for the financial committee, the call is currently open for a financial committee new members since we're short in people, so we encourage you to apply. The financial committee will be reviewing all the financial submissions, and they will be submitting their recommendations on financial reports during the GA. Thank you. Yeah, one thing else that I forgot to mention. Should I mention it here or at the end?
You can mention it. We were towards the end of
cash payments. I just want to remind NMOs about the bylaw that according to the bylaws, for cash payments, we need to collect an administration fees of 40 euros, and also make sure that this is the only possible method to pay your member fees through the cash payments at the GA. Thank you.
Okay. We have reached the end of our webinar. This is your chance to actually ask questions. If you have any questions, we are checking the chat right now on the live chat. And of course, if you don't have any questions, you can, and you have them later, you can of course approach us through email or just text us on the NMO President's WhatsApp group, and we will be happy to answer anything you have. So I just saw that there was a question there was a question about that NMOs only vote for the RD of their region, right? That's correct. During the GA, only the NMOs of the region can vote on for electing the RD of their region. For the other NMOs, the chair usually asks them to raise their hands so they can see they are not using the voting card, and they count the votes and they make sure that only the NMOs in the region are voting for that RD. So that's for that question. Maria saying everything's clear. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, we're gonna just wait for 2 to 3 minutes to see if there is any other question that is being asked. Guys, would any of you like to elaborate on something you have forgot about or something else?
Yes, so I forgot to say that you also need to submit your credential form for the GA. Don't forget about that document, otherwise you will also lose the voting rights. But you can submit it during the GA if you haven't submitted before. So you submit it to the CCC, and they get to see if you have the voting rights, basically.
We have another question from. Does anybody like to say anything?
I just want to say that there's a question.
Yeah. So there's a question from Michelle from CFMS that during the GA, how do we recommend we bring up concerns with policy papers if we still have any by that point? So you, as NMOs, you still have the right to do that. So even if we advise against like bringing last minute amendments, but if you have a major concern regarding a certain policy, you still have the right to do a statement to say that you are against it, or even to amend any part of it. So if by the GA you felt that your concerns were not answered during this amendment period, and you still have very last minute concerns, it's still your right as an NMO to make these suggestions and the changes last minute. Yeah, so oh, sorry, did I understand the question wrong? Concerns with policy papers, if we still, yeah, you can still do it, because usually the concerns are not done through the policy discussion. You can still do it in the plenary, which the policies are being voted on. You can approach the involved NMOs and officials, but if you still have any red flags regarding any policy, you can still do the amendments and do statements in the plenary and say your opinion regarding that. I hope it's answered. If not, you can just like write for the VP and the VP will elaborate more, of course. Any other question? Okay, great. Yeah, that answered the question. Okay, anyone else would like to say anything? We can just give it another 2 minutes. Okay, there's another question. Yeah. So what are so we have from KMSA. Someone is asking what are the C. Gion is asking what are the actual consequences of financial reports that are not submitted according to the bylaws. So Ahmed, can you elaborate on this?
Okay, so for the GA proposals, for the GA reports, the animals don't get their voting rights. Yes, for the GA proposals, animals don't get their voting rights. For the financial reports, there's no consequences in our bylaws.
Okay.
For the federation's financial reports.
Yeah, and it might be something for animals to think about. Okay, so what date is the submission tracking document? The submission tracking document will be shared again, just for my notes. So the submission tracking document is almost ready. We are just still finalizing the last part of it, including the bylaws. Our last deadline to share it is before the updates webinar. So before the updates webinar next week, you are supposed to have it. The updates webinar is next Sunday, but hopefully we will be able to share it by Friday this week. So that's our deadline. Yeah. Anyone having any other question? Okay, so maybe I can take this time to, okay, Ahmed, do you want to add something? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I would just mention that in case animals have paid their membership fees, please make sure that you send me the Swift document, the Swift receipt or online receipt of your transfer, so that I can actually match the date and the number of the transfer with what I'm receiving in the IFMSA bank account. Because unfortunately, we received a few payments which didn't have any description, so accordingly, I wasn't able to trace back from which animals these payments were, and also they didn't email me with the Swift document. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to trace which animals paid transactions. So make sure that you send me the Swift document or any proof of the transfer. Thank you.
Okay, so we have one last question. Will the recorded version of the webinar be shared through the NMO server? So you can still access this webinar after it finishes through the same link that was sent on the WhatsApp group and on the server. After the webinar finishes, I'm gonna send a reminder that this is the link, you can access it again. And of course it's recorded, so it's already recorded. You can watch it again. And if you find any questions or anything, just approach us. So that was the last question. Just a small update regarding the upcoming week. So next Sunday, the same time, we're going to have the updates webinar. And the main reason for this updates webinar is to save you some time during the GA from discussing the updates of the work related to the executive work of the Federation. So we're going to share updates regarding the work area of each position from the EB and major changes that are going to happen if there are any in August meeting, and some major updates between March meeting and August meeting. So if you have been away a bit during the last period, if you want to know what is happening and you want to feel that you are informed during the GA, make sure to attend the updates webinar. We're going to share information about the work that has been done so far. And you can ask questions and discuss with EB members whatever you want. This is to save time in the GA, as we will not be presenting updates of each person's work during the GA or each area, of course. So it's really important to attend the upcoming webinar. Yeah. So guys, does anybody want to add anything? Nothing? Okay, let's double check. Yeah, there are no questions. So thank you everyone who joined us and those who will watch the recorded version of the webinar. And we really hope to see you again next Sunday for the updates webinar. If you have any question, please reach us out through any means of communication you are comfortable with. And we look forward to see you in Taiwan in 2 weeks. Yeah, so bye. Say bye, guys.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.